In Marvel movies, there are lots of cool things like superpowers, mutants, aliens, and gods. But guess what? All those amazing things don't just happen on their own. The real heroes are the people who work hard behind the scenes to make it all look awesome. When we watch a superhero movie, we know that some of the cool stuff is made on computers. But did you know that a huge amount of what we see is thanks to special effects? In recent Marvel movies, almost all the shots, up to 98%, get some help from these special effects artists. Marvel movies love using computer-generated images. We've checked out how they make these blockbuster films, and we've got the proof. Whether it's the classic Marvel movies or the latest X-Men films, you'd be surprised how different they look before all the cool effects are added. As the MCU gets closer to its sixth phase, the person who played a big role in starting it all is still super important. Marvel's decision to choose Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, was a bit surprising at first. Director Jon Favreau had to push for it because the studio wasn't sure. But in the end, it was a smart choice. Downey became Iron Man so naturally, making the character come to life. However, it wasn't just Downey. A team of visual effects artists from Industrial Light and Magic played a crucial role. Favreau, the director, didn't want to rely too much on computer effects. He thought many movies were using too much CGI, so he preferred using real stuff whenever he could for Iron Man. He and his effects supervisor, John Nelson, even worked with Stan Winston Studios to create actual Iron Man suits. But when they couldn't do things practically, the ILM team stepped in. Favreau explained that many of these artists had experience from working on Transformers, and they used some of that technology to make Iron Man look super real. Favreau made sure the effects were as realistic as possible because he wasn't a big fan of relying too much on computer-generated images. In 2014, Marvel had a big year with their movies, and Fox was also in the spotlight with the highly anticipated X-Men sequel, Days of Future Past. Marvel was gearing up to introduce Aaron Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron. Around the same time, Fox exercised their right to use X-Men characters, casting Evan Peters as the speedy mutant Quicksilver in Days of Future Past. The movie received great reviews, and Peters stood out, especially in a scene that caught everyone's attention. This particular scene, known as the super slow-motion kitchen scene, looked incredible, but making it happen was no walk in the park. They had to shoot the sequence at a mind-blowing 3,600 frames per second, which requires a ton of light. Peters shared that it was incredibly bright, with the crew and director Bryan Singer even wearing sunglasses. The actors had to endure keeping their eyes open for a long time with the intense light, almost like staring directly into the sun. Despite the challenges, Peters mentioned, "It's brighter than the sun. It's right there in your eyes, but the result is so worth it. You just power through it." Jonathan Rothbart, not originally a fan of superhero movies, received the screenplay for Deadpool. After reading it, he was immediately struck by its unique humor, realizing it wasn't a typical superhero film. The overall VFX supervisor for Deadpool found the script incredibly funny, and director Tim Miller's background in animation convinced Rothbart to join the project. Miller, recognizing Rothbart's understanding of the film's vision, expressed confidence in their collaboration. Miller, being familiar with the VFX world himself, appreciated the efficient problem-solving dynamic on set. One of the movie's standout VFX scenes was the bridge crash, and a freeze frame from it became part of the opening sequence. A quirky touch in Deadpool was the inclusion of humorous titles during the opening sequence, replacing traditional cast names with descriptors like a CGI character and a British villain. Initially intended as a joke when only Ryan Reynolds was cast, both Reynolds and Miller found it amusing and chose to keep this playful element in the final cut. Like Deadpool, Logan also marked a significant moment in Fox's X-Men franchise, serving as Hugh Jackman's farewell to the Wolverine and introducing a grittier R-rated take on the clawed mutant. The heightened levels of violence presented a unique challenge for the VFX team, notably Rising Sun Pictures' Dennis Jones, who had previously worked on Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, as well as the Wolverine in 2013. Jones embraced the challenge, recognizing that Logan's storyline was more brutal and visceral, with direct consequences for the characters. The film's R rating allowed for a different approach to visual effects, providing a sense of freedom compared to earlier Wolverine appearances. The removal of constraints, such as the need to tone down blood and claw penetration as seen in the Wolverine, allowed the character to be portrayed with a newfound intensity. Joel Harlow, the makeup designer, acknowledged that the physical trauma depicted in Logan surpassed anything he had encountered since the early days of his career. This raw and unrestrained portrayal of violence added a distinct layer to the film, highlighting the departure from traditional superhero narratives within the X-Men universe. When the King of Wakanda, T'Challa, needed transportation, a standard Rolls-Royce or a Boeing 747 wouldn't cut it. With the abundant vibranium, Wakanda's miracle metal, at his disposal, he opted for a super sleek stealth jet that could rival anything from Area 51. In the raw footage, before the magic of visual effects, there was no jet, no landing platform, and not even the majestic landscape of Wakanda. The actors performed against a blue screen backdrop, with director Ryan Coogler likely guiding them to envision an African setting reminiscent of Roswell, but with a sense of familiarity. The awe-inspiring final version of the film was the culmination of efforts from 12 VFX studios, all coordinated by Jeff Bauman, VFX supervisor at Marvel Studios. Among these studios, Industrial Light and Magic, founded by George Lucas and renowned for its work on Star Wars, handled 403 shots in the movie. Their expertise was crucial in crafting the intricate visual effects needed to bring Wakanda, the vibranium-powered capital city, to vibrant life on the screen. In Avengers: Infinity War, the seemingly menacing Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw were brought to life through impressive visual effects. Terry Notary played Cull Obsidian in a mocap suit, showcasing his versatility after portraying Teen Groot in the same film. The epic battle scene, though it appeared massive, involved only 70 performers on an 8,000-acre farm, digitally transformed into a Wakandan battlefield facing Thanos' army. Avengers: Endgame showcased Thor's epic arrival at the Battle of Wakanda. Chris Hemsworth's performance, wielding Stormbreaker, was initially without the grand spectacle seen in the final cut. The poignant "I am Iron Man" moment, the heart of the film's climax, almost had no spoken words until a last-minute decision in the editing room. Spider-Man: No Way Home revealed the intricacy of bringing iconic characters like Dr. Octopus back, with Alfred Molina digitally de-aged and CGI tentacles. A surprising CGI moment involved Flash Thompson at an MIT party, where actor Tony Revolori was added to the scene through blue screen filming. In Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the visual effects team crafted the awe-inspiring Great Protector, an ancient water dragon. Meanwhile, Black Widow employed VFX to enhance fight scenes like Taskmaster Showdown, where explosions and debris were added in post-production. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness introduced a giant eye demon, Gargantos, while Thor: Love and Thunder showcased creative scenes such as Thor on a boat and a family running on a beach, all filmed on blue screen stages and transformed through visual effects. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.